We're a couple of weeks into the new year. How is your New Year's resolution going? Our challenges are going? Welcome Welcome to the Brewmance on the radio. He's Mike Russell. My name is Rob Hunter. Open-minded conversations over a beer. That's what the Brewmance on the radio is all about. As we enter a new year, our new challenges involving new types of drinks. Mike Russell, what are you drinking this week?
Yeah, this week I am going with the Jameson Irish whiskey, and this finished with cold brew coffee flavors. This is absolutely one of the most fantastic drinks you can possibly have in your coffee, and I'm a big cold brew coffee fan. So,
boom. So I'm curious to see what we'll do is we'll wait and review. Well, Mike will rate and review Jameson's cold brew at the end of the show. So that'll be coming up in about an hour or so, 45 minutes or so. So he can tell us all about it because Mike loves his coffee and now he loves his spirits. So his challenge at the beginning of the month was to drink spirits. More on that in a moment. My challenge was to not drink alcohol, or at least stick with non-alcoholic drinks for the month of January. So I'm going to keep that trend going as we are now halfway through the month of January. So far, so good. I've only had non-alcoholic beers. I'll hold this up to the camera. If you're looking at YouTube or if you want to watch on Facebook, you can do that. Athletic Brewing Company's Upside Down non-alcoholic golden ale.
Upside down, they did there. Wow, that's very fancy. Yeah, upside down. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Non-alcoholic beer. Now, I actually heard from a few people that the NAs are just absolutely blowing up. Like, it's just non-alcoholics are like it. That's like the next big trend in beer. So it'll be interesting to see what Rob thinks about each and every one of these at the end of the program as well. But we did have to alter course. And by we, I mean I. I will admit that. I really will admit that. Like I said last week, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I don't want to deprive myself of something. I don't want to, in my age, my basically station in life. I don't want to take things away, and everything needs to be fun for me. And what I was doing on the weekends with the spirits, because all through the week I was drinking spirits, and I got home, at about 8:00 at night. I'd take a shower and then just kind of hang out with the family a little bit and then have a drink. So have whiskey, bourbon, whatever it was. And then on the weekends when I have all day, on the weekends, I got to catch up. I have a honey-do list a mile long and I want to get this done. And it's like this weekend I was assembling this very big barbecue. And I was like, it's noon. I got football on and I'm putting this grill together. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to alter course. I'm going to be able to have beer on the weekends, and I'm going to drink spirits during the week because I felt at that moment like I was depriving myself. And I went over for a birthday celebration at my sister's house, and she had a lot of craft beer. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and just, that's denying myself. And I don't want to do that right now. That's not what I want to do. So I altered course, spirits during the week, beer during the weekend.
See, this is what we love. Also at the Brewmance, open-minded, honest conversations. Mike is being very honest with us right now, saying, you know what? I was sitting there. I opened the beer fridge. There was a bunch of craft beer there, and I was like, I'm going to have one.
Yeah, and something? There's a lot of Michelob Ultra in my beer fridge because my sister was spending a lot of the holidays with us, and I haven't drank that.
See,
it was not even no temptation.
Exactly. That's what's great about it. So I also went over to the birthday celebration, but I brought non-alcoholic beer. So I stuck with my guns. And that was an interesting challenge in and of itself because normally Mike and I hanging out, we're drinking beers. So I was technically drinking beers. I just wasn't feeling anything. I think I had 4 of the Athletic Brewing Company's IPA. It felt like I was drinking, but I didn't have any of the biological, psychological, physiological effects of the alcohol in my system. So that was very interesting to be at a party where I normally December, February, March, except for this month, would have been drinking. So it was still fun. We had a lot of laughs. Claude, don't say it. That's all I'm going to say. That's an inside joke for you.
Claude, don't say it. So awesome.
It got off the rails. We're playing some games, and it was a lot of fun. So that was a nice kind of test for me to go through the social aspect because I hadn't done that yet with a non-alcoholic beer to see how I did. And in the moment, I wasn't even really tempted because I had the non-alcoholic beer option. So it still felt like I was drinking. I wasn't denying myself because the taste of the Athletic IPA is really good. Now, does it compare well with other IPAs? I don't know. But in that moment with the non-alcoholic, I was like, yeah, this is good. It still feels good. It still feels like I'm drinking. And then I was able to drive home.
And at that moment, I would gone at least over a week without having a beer. And I'm telling you, I just grabbed one of the beers she had in there was a Dale's Dale's Pale. And I drank it. It tasted different. Like it tasted stronger. It had the hops. You felt the bite more. It's so odd when you take those tolerance breaks and you go back to it. You're like, wow, okay, that's exactly what this should taste like. When in my normal life, I'm just, having at least 1 or 2 beers a day.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings up something interesting too, because as 2021 is now here, as Athletic Brewing Company now has a pretty good national imprint on the non-alcoholic market. Now, this is a brewing company out of New York that only brews non-alcoholic beer. So they popped onto the scene. And Mike, when you mentioned the scene and someone reached out to us on our Facebook page, you can find the Brewmance on Facebook. They said, yeah, there's tons of them. When I was shopping earlier this month to just pick up beers for the month, I was surprised at the number of brewing companies. Lagunitas has one. Some other national brewing companies have one. Athletic has a ton. There was a whole section of non-alcoholic beers. I was like, this is interesting because what I've noticed, it used to be O'Doul's. Have you ever had an O'Doul's?
No.
I had one once to try it. It was awful. It was because it's like it doesn't even taste like beer. These at least taste like beer. So it's shifting the game. And now Athletic Brewing Company, whom I'm drinking their golden, their upside down. It's hard to see with the light, but their golden, they are having athletic endorsements essentially, or former athletes endorsing their product. So they've gotten to the point where they've been able to afford some endorsements. Mike is a particular fan of one of the endorsees.
Oh, JJ Watt. I'm a fan of. I will say that very openly. I love me some JJ Watt. Big fan of the Watt family. Not so much a fan of Lance Armstrong, who is I guess been selected to represent either Athletic or one of the other NA companies doing that. It's obnoxious to me. That guy is the poster child for cheating and lying and duping and doping. He's just, I don't understand how he's not toxic in the endorsement world, because I guess you just go on Oprah and cry once, or go on Oprah, say you're sorry, and then you're okay now. You're good.
It is very interesting, because that would be the last name I would expect. I would see like a J.J. Watt. There's another former New York Giant player named Justin Tuck, won Super Bowl with the Giants. He's part of it too, which makes sense, right? Former athletes drinking non-alcoholic beers. They're staying in shape. J.J. Watt's still a player, so that's fine. The Lance Armstrong one's so out of left field, because I haven't seen Lance Armstrong in forever, because I thought, like you, his brand was so damaged because he admitted that his however many Tour de France's he won, however many in a row, was it 6 in a row and then a seventh? Think what? We're all basically while doping. He was doing crap with his blood, taking blood out, putting blood in. Nuts. Now, granted, everyone in the Tour was doing it. Lance just did it better, but it basically ruined the sport of cycling, in my view.
It absolutely did. I mean, but then going back to this, when it's got to creep into our beer world.
Yeah.
Come on. Why don't you just have OJ endorse you as well? Why not? Why? Because he's on Twitter now. So
he's not guilty, back. Man. Yeah.
OJ's back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not guilty. Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, no, we went off the rails with OJ. Okay, maybe I took it a step further with OJ, but Lance Armstrong is a cheater McCheater pants. He didn't cut people's heads off, so he is at least there, not to that level of toxicity. But I just think it's goofy. But I think it is cool that there's athletes that are acknowledging, hey, there's a lot of people out there that want the NA experience. I don't. Our good friends that started sobriety cards. I will have them on soon enough. Sobriety cards are to celebrate people's sobriety and give them actual cards. Like, hey, it's your birthday. It's another year sober. We love that. And some of those people use non-alcoholic beers to help them along in the process. For me, I'm not suffering from that addiction. So I want to at least have a little bit of something in my beer. I'd rather have a light beer that gives me a little bit of that something than the empty calories of an NA.
Yeah, and that's part of the also trend of 2021 is not necessarily NAs, but lower ABV. So I'm reading, one was like a 2% that someone's putting out. It's like a hazy, but it's real light. So you'd have to drink like 12 of them in order to actually feel a crazy buzz. But these NAs are interesting too, because it also gives you an option. It's a lower calorie option. So if you want to hang out and you don't really want to get drunk, you can still be a part of the conversation, still be a part of the vibe, if you will, by drinking these. Right. So that's an interesting option too. And now it's even going to rise in prominence because they do have these celebrity backers. So that's going to be interesting as well. So tomorrow we're going out hunting. We're going to tell you about that here in just a moment with our buddy who makes Slavo salt, which you can go to slavosalt.com, enter the keyword brew. You're going to save yourself 15%. Slavosalt.com, keyword brew. When you go to checkout, save yourself 15%. That's what I'm talking about. More on the Brewmance on the radio in just a moment here on 550 KFYI.
Oh, it's time to go hunting. Yes, we are making it happen, Brewmance on the radio. 550 KFYI, we appreciate you being here. Each and every week, we gather around a drink of the week. It's usually a local craft brew of the week, but we're on a challenge this month, and I am drinking spirits. Rob is drinking non-alcoholic beer. So why don't you give it kicked off, buddy? What you drinking over there?
Athletic Brewing Company's Upside Down. It is their non-alcoholic golden ale. We'll rate and review this for you at the very end of the show. It is 50 calories and no alcohol.
A lot of alcohol in this. This is Jameson Cold Brew. It's part of their Caskmate series. They're doing, they have a stout and they have a IPA as well, which will do an IPA probably the next week or the following week as well. So they finish them off in IPA barrels, which I guess in Ireland is a thing. Not really a thing here, but we're gonna see how that tastes. So we're getting after it. But the most important thing is tomorrow. And by the way, Rob, we don't even have to get up early. It's not even that kind of hunting. We're going pheasant hunting out with our man, Chef Slavo Stevens. He is the proprietor of Slavo Salt. You find him at slavosalt.com. It's right over my shoulder. The best seasoning there is.
Literally.
Go online to slavosalt.com. Put in the code word brew. You're going to go ahead and get 15% off of your order. You're welcome.
This is literally, I just want to say, this is no joke, literally the best seasoning I've ever used in my life. I put it on just about everything. I put it on steak. I put it on chicken. I put it on broccoli. I put it on green beans. I put it on rice. I love it so much. I literally can't get enough of it. So make sure you get some.
Did you try the movie popcorn yet?
I haven't because I haven't been to the movies in a hot minute.
Well, go get some microwave popcorn and make
that's a good idea. But here's the thing. There's a new Denzel Washington movie coming out the end of the month. I love me some Denzel. It's my man crush. So I maybe go to the movies. Maybe I'll bring my Slavo, put it right on the top.
I will go with you, buddy. But we're drinking, but it's next month, so we can't drink beer when we go. So it's just fantastic. So you'll be done with your NA stuff at that point. But yes, but we're going out. We're going to go out, take the dogs out. The dogs are going to go ahead and put us on some birds. We're going to go bird hunting. And then we're going to come back to the Russell Ranch. And we are going to cook elk heart. That's right, with Slavo, obviously. We're going to call it Heart 3 Ways. So Chef Slavo Stevens, he is an executive chef. He is going to show us 3 different ways to prepare elk heart. So pretty excited about that.
I don't know if I'm excited about that. I'm curious. So I've gone down the weird parts of animal before. I've had a lamb brain. I did that when I was 14.
Okay.
It's like mushy chicken.
That's setting the bar pretty high though. If you scoff at elk heart and you've already had sheep brain, come on, buddy.
I've had beef tongue.
Same.
I've had chicken liver raw, which was actually really phenomenal. Had that in Japan, Lady Brewmance.
How was the sheep brain?
Mushy.
Oh, okay.
It didn't have a ton of flavor. It was it was more of the knowledge you knew you were eating a part of a brain.
Yeah, something that's knowing that is getting eaten is weird. It's just odd.
We should do a podcast on the weirdest things we've ever eaten. So we could do that with Slavo maybe after we eat the heart. We can do that because that's what really started it for me. Was I was in Greece at the age of 14. Somehow I convinced my parents to let me go on a school trip to Italy and Greece.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Wow. Okay.
There was this girl named Julie who I was kind of digging. I was like, what's up, Julie? She's a little older. I was a freshman. She was a sophomore. So sitting at the table with all these kids. And I'm the youngest kid on the trip. A couple sophomores, mostly juniors and seniors. And I'm like, man, that girl's cute. And I got to impress these kids. I got to impress these older kids. So I'm like, I'm going to eat this brain. So I took the brain. I closed my eyes. I ate that brain and chewed it. Mushy. And it did not work. The girl never went on a date with the girl. It's all good. It's worth a try.
It's okay. You got a good story out of it.
It was like that Positive K song, because she had a man kind of thing. And I'm like, what's your man got to do with me?
I'm trying to hear that, see.
I'm trying to hear that, see. So that was then I just kind of went back to, because I was 14 years old, and then I just went back to my regular eating of pasta and pizza and cheese pizza only, But now I'm much more adventurous. About this heart, though, I don't think I've eaten a heart yet. I may have tried it in Japan because we've tried a bunch of stuff, but I saw the picture you posted on the Go Show Instagram. Yeah. It's a big old heart. It's like the size of my head.
Size of football. And it was easy because you cored it out essentially like a bell pepper. Like you just core a red pepper, or your yellow pepper, or green pepper, and you just cut it into 3 steaks. And you cut all the gunk off the top, and you're golden. I took all that stuff, put it in a boiler, and made doggy treats out of it. Worked for them.
A bunch of blood in there?
Oh yeah. You got to wash it out pretty good. It's funny. You put the faucet into one side, it shoots out the other side. All the different ways that the heart does its thing, and it's fascinating. My daughter, intern Beans, was all about it. She was like, she's into this. She's into FFA, Future Farmers of America. She's in all this, so she gets into this stuff, and she was all about doing it. So it was a good time. So it's been vacuum sealed in the freezer and ready to go for tomorrow. So I should probably pull that out tonight. Yeah,
good idea. And it's interesting because this is what I think ultimately what the challenges that at least I'm doing in dragging Mike along with. So the first challenge is to drink no alcohol or non-alcoholic drinks only in the month of January. And these type of challenges, so this hunt that we're going on tomorrow, again, is another challenge for me as I'm getting more comfortable with harvesting animals that you eat. Mm-hmm. Because Mike does not hunt just for fun. He doesn't go out and trophy kill. He harvests, whether it's a bird, whether it's an elk, whether it's a deer, and he feeds that to his family. I mean, that's the essence of hunting. It's like getting back to this idea of what women too, were doing originally, how we were thriving as a species, and why we're here in 2021 in the most prosperous time ever, despite 2020. So this going back is like this foundational kind of thing that we're doing, I think, and it's so fascinating because, it's a skill. Hunting's a skill. It requires a level of commitment. It also requires a level of, I guess, mental fortitude in a way, knowing that you're in a way taking a life. But I had another realization, Mike, recently. I don't know if you'll follow me on this one, because a lot of people bag on you as a hunter and hunters in general. Mm-hmm. There's organizations that want to ban hunting completely.
Humane Society of the United States is the lead on that, yes.
Which is a big organization. This is not just some mom and pop organization, 2 people trying to fight the good fight. This is a multi-million-dollar funded operation.
Yes.
But I always say, have you ever killed a spider? Ever stepped on a bug? Really, what's the difference? If it's about the sanctity of life, then what is the actual difference between killing a bug that's in your house and killing an animal? Because you're still technically killing it. Except what Mike is doing and what I will be doing tomorrow with Slavo is trying to get some birds, harvest them, eat them. There's a difference. That's human sustainment. And anybody that eats meat, those animals are essentially farmed, which is a variation of hunting in a way, because they're still being harvested and mostly in a cruel way.
Well, there's different versions of cruel for sure. I just like to tell people that, you just have someone else kill your food for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I kill my own food. And, I go to the grocery store and I get meat too, as well. I go to the butcher and get meat as well. So I'm not hypocritical by any stretch. For the most part, if I had my way, I would harvest all of my own animal proteins, period. But I can't have my way because I need a job and I need to work every day of the week. So, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to have a ranch and you'd have to work on that full time. And that is a lot of work to be able to do all of that. Mm-hmm. So but these are interesting challenges in that sense too, because it's trying things out and trying to figure out, is this for me? Is it not for me? Do I want to live the life of convenience and go to the grocery store and the butcher and that's it? Or do I want to, if I ever needed this skill, to be able to use it?
Now, there's 2 things here that's going to happen tomorrow. One, I'm going to be drinking beer afterwards. We're going to celebrate, of course. You'll probably bring your NAs. Slavo will bring something, whatever he wants to have. And of course, we're going to raise a glass when we're done with this. It's part of the thing. And I couldn't even think. I actually bring, for the people at the ranch that we're going to, the hunt club that we're going to, actually bring them beer. So it's part of it. It's part of the tradition. It's part of the culture. I don't want to walk away from that. And there is a special prize in it for Rob Hunter.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Slavo salt?
We're stepping up. I'm just going to say that's your only hint. Okay. You're leveling up tomorrow.
Oh boy. I don't even know what that means.
I know.
But I'm so excited about it.
Good. I'm glad you're excited about it. You should be.
Leveling up.
Leveling up tomorrow.
So we'll tell you all about it on the Brewmance of the Radio next week.
Yes, we will.
Maybe on a podcast in between, which, by the way, you can subscribe to the podcast. We do a podcast separate from this radio show, which you can find everywhere. You do Apple Podcasts, you do iHeartRadio, you do Google Play, you do Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, first and foremost, for hanging out with us on Arizona's only craft beer radio show as we kind of deviate from craft beer at least a little bit over the next few weeks. Mike drinking Jameson cold brew, and I'm drinking Upside Down, Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic beer. That's our trend, at least for this month. Our challenge. In a moment.
Yes, we're not trendy.
Yes. No, we're not trendy. In a moment, a beer list that actually makes sense on the Brewmance on the Radio. 550 KFYI. We here at the Brewmance love a good beer trend, so long as that beer trend makes sense. Welcome to the Brewmance on the Radio, Arizona's only craft beer radio show in the midst of challenges we're going to do all year long. Hope you are doing it as well. We'd love to know how your New Year's resolutions are going. Reach out to us. You can find us on Facebook at the Brewmance. You can find us on Instagram at the _Brewmance. You can listen to a podcast we do separately on all the podcast platforms. Just type in the Brewmance. So this week, we normally crack open craft beers, locally made craft beers. We've been doing this show now for a couple of years, but this year, we're doing a little bit different. Mike, what are you doing differently this month?
Spirits. That's right. Ditching the beer on the weekdays and doing spirits. Jameson Cold Brew is my spirit of the week. It is made with cold brew coffee and is I can't wait to tell you all about it a little later.
Yes. Mike's in love. I can see it in his eyes. You can watch this video on YouTube. You can watch this video also on Facebook as well. If you're listening on the radio, you want to catch the full broadcast, you can do there. I'm going non-alcoholic beers all month. This is Athletic Brewing Company's Upside Down. They're golden. We'll tell you all about it here in about 15, 20 minutes or so right here on the Brewmance on the Radio. But we came across this list, 6 beer industry trends to watch in 2021. And Mike really liked this list because normally you see, okay, it's going to be this new type of beer. Yeah. The hazy IPA is going to be the thing of the year. The blah, blah, blah is going to be the thing of the year. This is a little bit different.
Yeah, because we're talking about real things in real life and things that matter to you and I, like things like outdoor craft brewing areas, like outdoor seating and outdoor dining. And as we come off of what happened in 2022 and hopefully move away from all the politics of it and get back to business, and we get to basically get back to normal, what we're going to see is a lot more, hey, I didn't know this place had an outdoor dining area. I didn't know I could go out here and enjoy some craft beer outdoors here in Arizona, which is the most beautiful outdoor playground of the state that there is. So that's one of the trends. And I love that. That and cans, I think, are my 2 favorite. Those are just canning is going to be the way, as some breweries are just staying alive by canning and getting into a grocery store.
In fact, I saw a stat, I can't remember what it is offhand, but I saw it during the week that said that beer sales in stores was massive in 2020, but beer sales in actual breweries, not so much. So that was why there was a rush on cans, and that's why there was a shortage of cans for much of 2020, because they just didn't have enough supply to meet the sudden surge in demand. And that's what 2021 is going to be. It's going to be a major transition year for not just craft breweries and small businesses like craft brewery, but small businesses everywhere. So that the craft beer industry, not knowing how the vaccination plan is going to go, not knowing if that's going to work very well to encourage people to get back out and resume what we used to consider normal activities, you have to keep that in mind. That's why being a business owner right now, small, medium, large, is so challenging, because you have to deal with all these changes. So Mike mentioned outdoor patios. That's going to be key, because people are much more apt to be willing to sit outside because it's way more difficult for COVID to spread outside. So that's massive. And there are various things the state of Arizona is doing for some restaurants. I don't know if that even includes breweries, because it was only for restaurants. So I don't know if our governor gave funds available for, say, Russell and Hunter's Brewery, the Brewmance's Brewery, to be able to expand their patio.
But I think the patio expansion is key, and I know that there were CARES Act funds to do that. And because you think about people that really want to stay home, and there are, that's fine if you want to. I'm not judging you one bit. If you want to stay home, stay home. But then you get that itch. You're like, I really want to go out. I really want to have a meal out. I really want to have a drink out. And then you're like, oh, hey, that place just has a brand new outdoor seating area. That is a nice step to getting back to some sort of normalcy and being able to go do the indoor dining thing.
Yeah, and the challenge here, obviously, is the summertime. We can go outside and hang out on a patio all year long, with the exception of June, July, August, and September. And at night in June and September, you can. It's just that July and August, you got to have mad misters out there because it's 105. And you're like, do I really want to sit outside? So that's our challenge, and that will be our brewery's challenge. So, for example, they talked to a couple of others from all other places, and that's the opposite, where, you can't, in Massachusetts, drink outside a lot in December, January, February, and most of March, and because of different weather challenges and snow and cold and wind. So we have that advantage here. Mm-hmm. But here's another one.
Accents.
Park the car.
I kid.
I watched a little bit of The Departed the other night just for fun because I love a couple of those scenes. And man, those accents be flying for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. But here's another prediction. And this is going to be, again, this ties in, is they expect sort of on-premise beer sales to stay flat or even decline. So the craft beer industry is expecting full recovery not to happen for a couple of years. So again, what Mike talked about, cans are going to be the key, maybe even bottles. If there's not enough cans, you might see some of our local breweries, our 100 plus in the state of Arizona, turn to bottles to get their beer in the stores.
And I'm way okay with that. It seems like every time I go to the store, there seems to be a new local brewery that's offered. And going to the cans, I mean, we're talking about going out hunting tomorrow in our last segment. And I said, I'm going to have beer there when we're done and just relax and hang out and enjoy what just happened and what we've done and watch the dogs run around. It's going to be fantastic. But I have more of an option now, like on longer hunts or camping trips. It used to be maybe Fat Tire and Blue Moon was really your only options outside of the Bud Lights and the Coors. And now it's, what do you want? I mean, everything is in a can. It is absolutely fantastic. And it just keeps increasing. The number of options keep increasing. And I get excited. It's like an addition to what is coming. Like, I always love meal prep and all that for the trips and the hunts, and snack prep for the trips and the hunts, which is easy with the kids. You just give them the miniature donuts and they're just right. And then, but now it's this, okay, now we get to go to the store and I really get to find something so cool that's in a can. It's going to be safe to take out there with me. And I've endless options. It's great.
It is great and necessary. That's the point of this beer trend list. The breweries that are going to survive long term are going to have really probably a strong customer base. So you think of a place like Wren House or Wilderness. If you've been to those places, they have very loyal customers because they make really good beers. Helton Brewing, there's so many that have these loyal followings that will help them. But the key is audiences are down in person, so you have to adapt. So the breweries that are able to adapt are going to be the ones that are going to survive long term. So that's part of this. And here's another one, because this is interesting, because Mother Road, whom we love, brewed up in Flagstaff, just put Tower Station in a 12-pack. And they're saying on this trend list, 12 packs of lagers and IPAs, they're going to trend upwards in 2021, according to this list. Imagine you want 12 Tower Stations in your fridge rather than a 4-pack of Tall Boys. It makes tons of sense. Oh. And you can probably bring the price down a little bit because you're increasing your volume.
And okay, so let's take that one step. Mother Road, please pay attention. 15 packs.
Yes.
I love the 15-pack. I really do. I love the founders. I love how they've done that. I know New Belgium's gone to a few of them as well. Oscar Blues doing the 15-pack. I love that. I just think it's not like, I know I sound like a complete alcoholic here, but I mean, I absolutely love the fact that I can have one 15-pack in the refrigerator for the whole weekend and have some for people coming over. It's a great thing. When I saw the Tower Station post about them putting the 12 packs, I got excited.
It's a game changer. I mean, it's now you're like, okay, because you're looking at these tall boys and you're like, all right, I want 12 of them, so I got to buy 3 of these. Now you can just grab them in the whole 12 pack. But the 15 pack too. I mean, the first one I ever bought was Founders All Day IPA, and I was like, 15 craft beers in one box. Oh, this is amazing.
$15? Oh my god!
Exactly. Like it's like giving it away. It's like, this is amazing.
And it's gonna be weird holding a 12-ounce
like this.
It's like,
I've never held one before.
Yeah, like
I've never had a 12-ounce.
I'm being shorted here. I'm being shorted. I feel like I'm being ripped off. Oh no, I have 11 more.
Open the fridge, like, yes, this is amazing. I have 11 more. The other thing that's going to trend this way is subscription service and direct to consumer, because again, that's that adaptation. How can we get you our beer? We'll deliver it to you. A lot of breweries in the Valley did that over this past year. I don't know if that's still going or not, but that's the key, because that's the new economy. We live in a convenience world, a convenience era where everything is brought to us. The more breweries can do that, the more effective they will be. So that's an exciting trend.
I didn't even know DoorDash was all about. Apparently, they just leave it on your door. I didn't know that until my neighbor had his kitchen redone. He was like, DoorDash saved me. And you tip or you pre-tip or pre-fee or whatever, and then they just leave it at your door. That's exactly the way of things. That's the way it's going. And if beer can do that, I know it hurts their margins a little bit. It cuts into their profit, but it keeps their name out there. It keeps their beer being distributed. So, I mean, it might even be just a holding pattern type of business move, but it's so important. And I'm glad to see it's going to stick around this year.
Adapt or die, as they say. In a moment, we'll tell you about our drinks. We will review them for you on the Brewmance on the radio here on 550 KFYI.
Yep, we've heard of a man cave. We've heard of a beer fridge. How about a beer cave? A prehistoric beer cave. This is Brewmance on the radio, Arizona's only craft beer radio show. I'll get my head to work at the same time. Maybe it's the Jameson. We'll get to that in a moment. Each and every week we start with a local craft brew. We have challenges going on in the new year, and one of Rob's challenges for January is non-alcoholic beer. What you drinking, pal?
Athletic Brewing Company's Golden. This is called their Upside Down. So we're 16 days in, no alcohol, going strong.
All right. Well, I altered course a little bit. I'm doing beer on the weekends because whatever, America. Okay. But I'm doing spirits during the week, and I almost held this up. That doesn't really show you much. This is Jameson's Cold Brew. This is made with cold brew coffee, and it is a fantastic beverage. We will get to those in just a moment. But first, let's go way out to the land of St. Louis, where they have discovered a prehistoric beer cave. Now, I was all about this. I saw this headline. I was, well, this is cool. What do you mean prehistoric beer cave? Teach me. I love my history. Apparently, this thing is around 100 years old, and this is where they used to keep beer cold underground in St. Louis.
Awesome. See,
no,
everybody's drinking.
No, kind of awesome. Here's the deal. I'm tired of this. I'm actually subscribing to the Eddie Izzard philosophy. Eddie Izzard's one of my favorite comedians. His stand-up Dressed to Kill is one of the funniest things ever. And in that, he said, in America, it's so funny because they said they've restored this building to the way it looked 50 years ago. No, surely there weren't even people 50 years ago. Yeah. we here in America, we freak out about something. I mean, 100 years ago is 1921. Like it wasn't true. Okay. I mean, there are people alive today that were born around that time. So, like, okay, it's not a cave. It's an underground beer storage. It's not a cave.
But I'm just happy that they were storing their beer before refrigerators. They're like, we're going to figure out a way to keep our beer cool and preserved, and it's a cave. Awesome.
All about that. I just think that as we know in our other line of business, Rob Hunter, that headlines are meant for one reason and one reason only. And that is you click on it, and the discovery of a beer cave, it paints a picture in your mind that there's going to be hieroglyphics on the wall.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, yeah, we've discovered a cave. No, it was behind a guy's house in an alley. And he said he showed up one day from work, and there was a bunch of people digging, and they had these cameras and stuff, and they're running through. And he's like, hey, can I join? And they, yeah, here, you live here. Come on, let's go check it out. And they found a beer cave.
With no beer in it, though.
I know.
That's the unfortunate part. There's no beer. Although, after all, drink 100-year-old beer.
But that'd be the equivalent of when Geraldo did the Al Capone's vault thing. Remember that giant bust? Awesome. Fox, you tried your best.
Here it is. Nothing. Cool. Made for TV event. But see, that's actually a good point too. And I'm gonna dig into this. Maybe we can do a podcast on this, because the longer I'm in the news business, I've been doing this for over 20 years, the more I feel manipulated, or at least they're trying to manipulate me based on what Mike just said. They write some crappy headline that pulls on some emotion, makes you curious, fearful, whatever. You click on the story and you're like, ugh. Because usually you're disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many times can you possibly be disappointed before you just give up? Now, a big problem is I don't believe anything anymore. I see a headline, I'm like, I don't believe this. I see something on Twitter, I'm like, that's not true. Right. It may very well be true, but I approach everything with this certain level of distrust until I can back it up in 12 different ways. The problem is most people don't do that, I don't think, Mike. So it creates a challenge to have discussions and debates, because various people believe various things. Well, I saw it on the internet. I saw it on Facebook. We had this debate last week about, after the Capitol riots, not to get political, but people were sending us stuff. And I'm like, okay, that could come from anywhere. This is a flyer that says this. I'm like, okay, it could be 5 years old for all we know. It could be made by me for all we know.
I want to just pause right there, and just a reminder of the social media rules. All right. Here on the Brewmance and Facebook.com/the Brewmance, and on Instagram at @the_Brewmance. This is about beer, spirits, and good conversation. That's what it's about. On the Go Show, we celebrate all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of the state that we live in. Those are our breaks and our escapes. We have avenues to have political discussions. That's Russell and Hunter. You can go to those sites as well, and we can have a spirited political debate if you want. Brewmance, go. This is just not the time. This is our fun stuff. This is what we like to connect with you and enjoy and just celebrate life in two very different ways and see how they meld together. This has nothing to do with politics on this. There we go.
And we're not trying to manipulate you. Like, this is, yes, exactly, Mike. Great clarification. Great point. This is about not manipulating you. This is just about, let's be friends and hang out, have a beer. We'll talk about whatever and enjoy it.
We're not a place for heated nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. We want to be that way, especially when you're drinking a couple of beers. Now, in Japan, this is an interesting one, because Sapporo, is it Sapporo that was making this beer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was Sapporo Breweries put out this beer, and they wanted to kind of market it. And it's
it was in conjunction with like their big giant, and you probably know because you've been there, Rob, their big convenience market.
Yes. 7-Eleven is huge there. This is like Family Mart or something. It's like it's not 7-Elevens are like on a whole nother level in Japan. Same kind of thing. Yeah, 7-Elevens are like, they have sushi, they have all kinds of crazy things in 7. It's like a main place.
I've never eaten food from a 7-Eleven, and I've been to actually their nachos were fantastic. I don't get me wrong, their nachos were good. But yeah, never would I think sushi.
Yeah, no, and it's like Amy and I, when we were there, had a couple of on the go kind of things. We're like, okay, this is pretty good. And the same kind of thing with Family Mart. That's one of the other large convenience store chains in Japan. So they put this out. They made a big mistake because they always do things in kanji, Japanese writing, and they always do it in English. And they spelled lager wrong. So instead of Lager, it was Lagar, lager.
And so they hit pause. They said, we're not going to release this. And people lost their bleeping minds, and for good reason. I mean, this was a highly publicized craft beer. This is a collaboration brew, and it was going to be readily available. And I mean, everywhere in Japan, maybe even 7-Eleven. But they made one mistake, and they scrapped the whole thing. They haven't even released a date announced a date to release it. They said, nope, we're just not. And I'm like, hey, yo, everybody, lighten up a little bit, Japan. Let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Here, Stone Brewing is one of the biggest craft breweries in the nation, and they have printed all of their labels upside down and distributed them.
Was it on purpose?
Funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure the first round was a mistake, and they say, you know what, let's just run with it. We're going to run with the mistake. And Japan could have done the same thing. They said the cool kids in America call it the lagar. Yeah, see, that's exactly. The cool kids in America.
But,
up Francis.
Well, but Japan's culture is very much like perfection. At least that's my interpretation of it. I mean, look, you go on the subways there, cleanest things you ever been on. You're like, I would eat something off the floor if I dropped it on the Japanese subway. Okay, it might be an extension of it, but there's no graffiti. It's pretty impressive what they do.
But if they did let it go, I'm going to walk this back a little bit. See, if they did let it go And then Japan's whole culture just goes the way of just sloppiness.
Like,
they would date it back to the day they released the misspelled lager, and then they would come after me because I was the one suggesting releasing it.
Yep. So like, who's that Brewmance guy, Mike Russell?
We heard of this big dopey white guy in the States. Yeah.
Ruined Japan forever.
Nope.
No.
But here's the lighten up. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Okay. Well, good. This is a light beer that I'm drinking, essentially. I'll review that in a minute. I want you to go first because I want to hear about this Jameson cold brew that you're drinking.
Now, I wasn't a Jameson. I really wasn't into Jameson at all until our very own James T. Harris. He said, Jameson, you got to try it. And then I went to go shop for Jameson. And then Jameson had a Caskmate series with IPA barrels, stout barrels, cold brew. And you know I love my cold brew coffee. This in cold brew coffee might be one of the greatest things to happen to mornings ever. And I mean ever. So there's just chocolate notes to it. It's deep, it's rich, it's full. I love everything about it. I really do love everything. This is one of my favorite drinks ever. And because of its versatility, 9 easy.
So you can drink it in the coffee. You can drink it outside the coffee on its own. And it has still that coffee kind of notes to it.
Chocolatey notes to it. And it's just, it's a whole new level. It's basically Jameson in 4 different versions. It's awesome.
Nice. These reviews, by the way, brought to you by Slavo Salt. Go to slavosalt.com. This is the best seasoning you're ever going to have. We love it. We use it on everything. And if you enter the keyword brew, BREW at checkout, you will save 15%. Slavosalt.com, the #1 seasoning you can use on everything. For me, Athletic Brewing Company's Upside Down Golden Ale. I love it. I mean, here's the challenge with these. I don't know if it's the no alcohol in it. I want to drink them faster because it seems like it's a regular drink. So I've had to slow sip this so it lasted throughout the show. The only thing missing from it's alcohol. It tastes like a beer. It feels like a beer. And you could drink 4 or 5 of them and you'd be like, I don't feel a thing. That is fun too.
Before you give it a rating, because I saw you take your first sip and you were like, meh. I'm surprised you're talking about loving it. Did it kind of grow on you? Kind of fill through? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what face I made, but I was like, oh, this is pretty solid. Like I would drink this again because it's got a nice flavor to it. It's not a light ale. It tastes like a beer. It's the only thing I can say. So I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I got nothing else good to say, bad to say about it.
There you go.
And on that note,
try NA beers. Who knows?
Exactly. We'll review it. We got to get out of here. Till next week, 6 p.m. Saturday night. The Brewmance on the radio will be back here on 550 KFYI.
Cheers, everybody.